You say, what do you know? It's the full Monty Sports Show. It is Taco Tuesday, June 29th, 2021. I am your host, Monty Perez, aka the Sports Whisperer. You can follow me on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Instagram. On Facebook, it's Monty Perez. On Twitter, it's Monty JP231. And on Instagram, it is Monty Perez 2. And again, Monty Perez 2. I'm not the greatest on Instagram. I'll admit that. But I'm learning and I'm working on it. I spend most of my time on Twitter. So again, Monty JP231. We had 34 states tune into the full Monty show last week. 34 states tune into the full Monty Sports Show. So I want to thank you all so much for that. We were actually number one in the search engine. We surpassed Norm Macdonald last week, who's got a very popular talk show. And you know my theory. If you ain't first, you're last. We were number one for about a week in the search engine. Again, number one in the search engine for sports shows, the full Monty Sports Show. Our goal is to do this show 5 days a week, and I can only do that with your help. So how can you help us do that? Okay, well, first of all, give us a big thumbs up for this show. Like it, give us a big thumbs up. Tell one friend, tell one family member, tell a coworker to subscribe to the Nuts and Bolts Sports YouTube channel. Tell them to subscribe to the Nuts and Bolts YouTube channel. The more subscribers we get, the more sponsorship will come. We have a lot of things in the work. And again, you guys have been absolutely tremendous supporting this show. Cannot be happier. We have the best guests all across the country, and this week is no exception. Kind of a Tuesday tradition here, just like Taco Tuesday. The tradition we have is getting the Nuts and Bolts Sports crew. We usually get 4, 5, 6 guys on, talk sports, talk the NBA, playoffs, what's going on. There's a lot happening with coaching changes. There's a lot happening in the NBA, so can't wait to get those guys on. But first, we're going back to something I used to do at the beginning of the show. You know, a lot of people are saying on Sundays now they miss my opening rants and they miss only in Florida stories. So we're going to start each week like we used to, things that only happen in Florida. So a Florida man, this is a true story, people. You could Google it. A Florida man kept calling 911 because his roommate stole his $20 bag of weed. So the Florida man called the cops numerous times because, as I quote, he said his roommate stole his weed and is smoking it in his room. He's smoking it in his room. So finally, after he called 911 5, 6, 7 times, the police officer said, "You got to stop calling. We're not going there for $20. The man said, "I'm sorry. I'm just really upset. He stole my weed and he's smoking it in his room," and he locked the door. To make the story even crazier, he called 911. They put him through to the police chief because he kept calling. And he said to the police chief, and I quote, "Listen, do you guys have any pot in storage on premises for evidence? I will give you $30 for a $20 bag of weed." So this guy is calling the police officer and now trying to make the cops his drug dealer. Finally, after numerous calls, the police had to go to his house, give him a formal warning. When asked what he should do about his what he should do about his roommate that keeps stealing his weed, the cop said, "Hide it in a better place." So again, only in Florida. Only in Florida. Okay, we start each show with the good, the bad, and the ugly. But this portion of the show, the good, the bad, and the ugly, is brought to you by Beam Organics. Beam creates the highest quality functioning supplements for better balance, performance, recovery, and sleep, and is trusted by wellness partners all over the United States. Go to beamorganics.com. Again, go to beamorganics.com and check it out. All right, so let's get to the good, the bad, and the ugly. Let's start with the good. Diana Taurasi scored 25 points and became the first player in WNBA history the first player in WNBA history to score 9,000 career points in return after a 5-week absence, as Phoenix Mercury beat Los Angeles 88-79. Taurasi is the league's all-time leading scorer. And think about this. I remember Diana Taurasi when she was at UConn. She's 39 years old. Diana Taurasi is 39 years old. That is insane. I actually worked with her in a basketball camp the year she left UConn. Nicest person in the world, very humble. Yeah. Weed costs money. Yes, rocking the yellow. Rocking the yellow. My Oregon Duck colors. But anyway, Diana Taurasi, God bless her, absolutely killing it in the WNBA, a Hall of Famer. And I just can't believe she's 39 years old. I can't believe that. But congrats to her on a tremendous, tremendous accomplishment. Okay, now to the bad. Listen, all you Yankee fans out there, this Yankee team is not what we thought. This Yankee team is not what we thought. They got swept by the Red Sox, okay? And they are 5.5 games out of first place. You look at this Yankee team, and on paper, they have it all. They have some good pitching. They have absolutely studs in the lineup. But Boston is smacking them around like they're a minor league team. I mean, the two teams who never spend a lot of money, the Tampa Bay Bucks and the Toronto Raptors, are ahead of them. The Tampa Bay Bucks and the Toronto Raptors are ahead of the New York Yankees, and so is Boston. It's time for them to fire Aaron Boone, the head coach. We've been talking about this for weeks. Very disappointed in what's happening right now in the New York Yankees. I'm not even a Yankee fan. But they are 5.5 games out of first place. They are who they thought we were. Overpaid and one-dimensional on offense. Yes, they live and die by the home run. This team doesn't look motivated. They don't look happy. They don't look like they want to play for their manager. So it's time to move on. So that's the good, the bad, and now to the ugly. The umpires stopped Seattle Mariner pitcher Hector Santiago after he was pulled in the 5th inning Sunday against the Chicago White Sox. The scene has become routine for all pitchers since Major League Baseball started inspecting for foreign substances. He was ejected for when his glove was inspected for having a foreign substance that was sticky on the inside palm of his glove. Crew Chief Tom Hallion told a pool of reporters. In a June 15 release, Major League Baseball said, look, guys, this is what it is. Any pitcher who possesses or applies foreign substances in violation of playing rules will be ejected from the game and will be automatically suspended in accordance with the rules and past precedent. Suspension under Rule 301 are 10 games. The only thing I disagree with here is 10 games for an everyday player. That's fine. But 10 games for a pitcher, what is that, 2 starts? What is that, 2 starts? We got to start making the rules not 10 days, because that might even be 1 start if you're a pitcher. We got to start making the rules. This was specifically put in place so that batters, you remember that there used to be all the batters took steroids and pitchers were like, it's unfair. This was a rule to start putting in check pitchers who try to cheat. So a 10-game suspension is not what is necessary here. Yeah, the suspension is a joke. They're still getting paid, and it's only missing 2 starts. It should be a minimum of 3 starts and not get paid. You broke the rules. Why are we paying people to break the rules? I like that Major League Baseball is doing this. I like it. But I got to be honest with you. I do not like the 10-game suspension. If you're going to punish them, It's only 2 starts. Make it hurt. We say this all the time, and I've said this about baseball for years. You look at the fortune of Alex Rodriguez. You look at the fortune of guys like Manny Ramirez, Big Papi, okay? Mark McGuire. These guys made hundreds of millions of dollars because they took HGH. If someone said to me, hey, Monte, take HGH and you'll make millions of dollars with your sports show, would I take HGH? Yeah, I don't need to take HGH because I'm jacked. But if I wasn't jacked and someone offered me that, so the punishment is never big enough. It's never big enough because I guarantee you, Seattle Mariners pitcher Hector Santiago will be there after 10 days, and he will be the first one to start after those 10 days. So we're not punishing these guys nearly enough. Nearly enough. All right, let's do something we love to do before we get our guest on. Let's surf the crowd. Monte's motto, sun's out, guns out. Yeah. Players get 80 games for first PED. The same should apply to pitchers. I agree with that, George. I agree with that. I mean, why do we have a lesser offense for pitchers who are doctoring up the ball? Why? Why? Keep the comments coming. I have had 2 people text me saying they're having problems with the comments. Just keep them coming. Sometimes YouTube freezes, but we will definitely get all your comments up there. And I always read them during the week if I don't get to them to the show. So we really appreciate that. All right, let's bring on Randall. What's going on, guys?
What's going on? What's going on?
Good evening. Good evening.
I got to see you all decked out with the background.
Yes, finally, I got it decorated.
Is that a WWE belt?
It is. I am the 5th grade championship of the world. I'm the champion of the world. Yeah.
Okay. Did you win that or did you buy it? Because I don't know which is worse.
I didn't buy it. It was a gift. 5th grade, man. Still fits. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I'm not putting it on.
So you've had that since the 5th grade.
I have, yeah.
That is awesome. That is awesome. I don't think I have anything of mine from the 5th grade. So good for you. All right, guys, we're going to get right to the a lot of talk lately about, you know, what NBA team is going to do what. What I like about this right away is as soon as the season is over, we're seeing teams make moves. We're seeing teams make moves. So we're going to start with you, Edwin. Jason Kidd, Dallas Mavericks. I don't like this hire at all. And let me tell you why. I saw this act in Brooklyn. He bounced after 1 year. I saw this act in Milwaukee. And in Milwaukee, he was 41 and 41, 33 and 49, 42 and 40, 23 and 22, 373 games coached, 183 and 190. Mark Cuban is an end result guy. How does this make the Dallas Mavericks better?
I don't think it does, actually. I think that you just mentioned, you know, all these statistics, and I think that it's pretty average. Everything is average about when it comes to Jason Kidd, sorry. And for me, I don't really see how this coaching move makes the Mavericks better. I mean, in his past 5 years of coaching, he's only had 2 top 10 defensive teams, and that's not really good because the Mavericks defense is not that good, as we saw in the playoffs this year. Clippers. And on top of that, I feel like the Mavericks were a player or 2 away and a defensive scheme away from being a legit contender in the West. Now, it's like they're a coach away, a player 2 away, and now maybe a whole defensive scheme away from being a legit contender in the West. They've taken a step back, in my opinion. I don't really think the Mavericks are going to be what they were this season as they were as they will be next season. They definitely need to find a way to give Luka some time to, you know, to do things for his teammates in terms of get more help around him. I'm not really too sure how that looks in the future, but I'm no sure that, you know, things are not good for the Mavericks right now.
Yeah, Randall, you know, everyone brings up a great point. The Mavericks need defense. Why did they go with an offensive guy here?
Jason Kidd has the most experience with their 2 best players at their position. So he's been dealing with LeBron James for the past year, a very good point forward, as we all know. And he's dealt with the likes of Giannis and also now Anthony Davis, and he's played with Dirk Nowitzki. So he knows how to key in with a guy like Kristaps Porzingis and make sure that they're getting the best out of them offensively. I will agree that he's not as good as a defensive coach as Rick Carlisle, but I think he will be able to enhance those star players and put a good team around them. And I believe he understands where his holes are as a coach. And I think he'll be able to fill those in with the trust of Mark Cuban and the general manager putting in the players in the right place.
Okay, can I make the argument here that this is a good hire? Because one thing, I've said this on this show numerous times. I never understood why Dallas doesn't get more free agents. It's in the middle of the country. You don't have any state tax in Texas. Okay, Mark Cuban treats his players like gold. So when I say it's in the middle of the country, there's no 5-6 hour flights. It's a 2 hour flight, maximum 3 hour flight. But can I say Jason Kidd was hired so Edwin he could sign free agents?
I'm not really too sure about that. I'm not sure if Kidd, as a person, as a coach, would attract free agents to Dallas. I'm not really sure if that's the right guy that you want to attract free agents, because I look at his resume before and I see, his coaching resume, his whole career, before that was, it's not really that good in my opinion. It's kind of average. So when it comes to him being the new coach of the Dallas Mavericks, I'm not really too sure if players want to come in and play for a scheme that Jason Kidd comes and cooks up, because it didn't really work out in Brooklyn, didn't really work out in Milwaukee, and will it be the same thing for the Dallas Mavericks? I feel as though it would be, only because they struggle with free agents as it is, and to bring Jason Kidd into that mix, I'm not really sure if it makes him better.
Okay, Randall, what's a successful season over the next 3 to 5 years? Is it getting to the Western Conference Finals, or Jason Kidd is coming in there to win a title? Because I got to be honest with you, if I'm Luka, I give this another year and then I bounce.
If I'm Jason Kidd, I'm happy with getting out of the first round in his first season there. And if you have to go up from there, you have to make it to the Western Conference Finals after doing that. And I would accept an exit in his first year there, because you can't just make the team perfect with what he wants and what he needs there within just one offseason. So I would give him 2 to 3 years to make the Western Conference Finals. And if Luka can be patient, we all know he's signing that $200 million deal. And if they trade him, so be it. But I think he should be able to weather the storm and make it all the way to the Western Conference Finals within 3 years.
Okay, let's move to Rick Carlisle. Rick Carlisle obviously hired in Indiana. Listen, there were some things I really liked about Rick Carlisle as a head coach. There were certain things that I didn't like. But I will say this. Rick Carlisle, players seem to like him. Players seem to overachieve. I thought for the most part, Tim Hardaway Jr. evolved. We saw him win a title with a lesser talented team than the Miami Heat. So the question, I'll start with you, Randall. Does this make the Indiana Pacers a top 4 or 5 team? Because I look at the Pacers and they do have talent. They do have talent.
They do have talent in Domantas Sabonis and Miles Turner, but Miles Turner hasn't been healthy. And same with Karis LeVert. Karis LeVert hasn't been, fully there, but obviously he was dealing with a major issue with getting that cancer removed. And we're all glad to see him back. And we're
when
all
he
very
does
happy.
play, he's 25-5. He's legit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so you have a good 3-core guys, but the surrounding players have not been very good anecdotal players. They have not shown up in the times that they've been needed, and they're very streaky. So he's going to have to reconstruct that roster. And right now I see them getting around to the 6th seed, but I don't see them going much higher than that unless they reconstruct their roster.
Props for using the term anecdotal players on the Full Monty Sports Show. So that was very, very nice by you. How long have you been waiting to use that in a sentence, by the way?
Oh, it just came off top.
I love it. All right. So, Edwin, this is not a sexy hire, kind of a retread coach who has a title. Do you agree with Randall? Does this put the Pacers over the top just based on him and the talent they have coming back? Because you look at Sabonis, you look at LeVert, forget about Miles Turner. Miles Turner at best is a 15-8 guy, solid pro, but not a star. Can they be a legitimate contender in the East?
They can to some degree. I'm not really too sure about being a top 4 or 5 team, but I will say top 6. I agree with Randall. I do think that this is a good hire for the Pacers. Now, I really like Carlisle as a good coach for them. I feel as though that he can come in and get the most out of the players, similar to what they did last season in the bubble leading up to that point. What Nate McMillan did for them. So in my opinion, I do think that they have some talent around which can make some noise in the playoff. That's the expectation for me, that they become a playoff team next year, once again, and hopefully they can make some noise. But in my opinion, I don't really see them being a legit contender just yet. Maybe, one of the lower seeded teams that can make some noise in the playoffs right now.
All right, let's move to out west. The Portland Trailblazers hired Chauncey Billups. Billups is their new head coach, 5-year deal, 17-year playing career, has never been a coach, has served as an assistant coach with the LA Clippers for the past season. What do you make of this, Randall? You like this hire?
I do like this hire. There's been a lot of flack going on around it, and we all know that Chauncey Billups has been a fantastic basketball mind, and he's been very well regarded by a lot of the players that would be playing for Team USA. And he's also been a very sound and very even-keeled individual throughout his entire career. So I think he's the perfect type of personality to be a head coach. But with all the extra flack that's been going on around it, it's obviously a touchy subject. But I think he is a good fit in terms of just basketball. And I think he'll be able to be a commanding voice in the locker room, and he'll be able to galvanize his troops, which is what it comes down to at the end of the day.
A reporter told this story when Chauncey Billups was on the Knicks when they won 54 games with Carmelo Anthony, Rasheed Wallace. They flew in Saturday they played Friday. They flew in Saturday, and they're out to dinner. Chauncey Billups picks up the check. It's about 8:30, 9 o'clock. It's the first Knicks road trip with that team that won 54 games again with Carmelo Anthony and a bunch of others. And Carmelo says to J.R. Smith or whoever, I don't think J.R. Smith signed to that later on in the year, but Carmelo says, like, yeah, come on, guys, we're going to the bar or strip club, whatever. And Chauncey Billups says, BS, you're not. He goes, we got a game tomorrow. I'm walking around. Everyone's got to be in their room by 11. You got 2 hours to do what you want, but we're not staying out till 2 in the morning. Chauncey Billups went around, and they knew right then and there that Chauncey Billups was the leader of the Knicks. Carmelo listened to him. They had some funky personalities on that team. They all fell in line. How much leadership will that affect the Portland Trailblazers?
I love it. I love it. I love the leadership command that he presents to the Portland Trailblazers. For me, you've seen in the past that it's kind of been Dame who's tried, in a sense, to try and be that leader on the Trailblazers, but I think that hasn't been working out too well. So they need a new voice, need a guy who can galvanize the players. And to me, the previous coach didn't do that. It will be a tough season for Portland, only because I feel like they're in a rebuilding mode, a slight rebuilding mode as it is right now. As far as you have Dame and CJ as it goes, but you need a team that can surround them and help them push to make a better playoff run. But Chauncey Billups for me is a good hire. He's a great hire for the Portland Trail Blazers. I do expect them to come in and command respect. I expect them to come in and do the best job in terms of getting the most out of players. That's like the main focal point that you need to do as a new head coach. Get the most out of players. And if he's able to do that, then he'll be around for a long time.
One of the things that Steve Kerr did right away is he hired a veteran offensive assistant and a veteran defensive assistant. I think the leadership for Billups will be there, but he definitely has to hire some veterans who know what it's like, who really, really, know the ins and outs. One of the things, I said this all the time about Bill Belichick, is one of the reasons why his assistants don't do well, he doesn't allow them to talk to the media, right? So part of the job of being an NBA head coach is the daily media after practice. Chauncey was in the media, so he knows how to handle it. So I think all things will be covered, except I think he just needs a very, very solid bench of veteran guys who were once head coaches who are there to help him with the X's and O's, because sometimes it's hard for a player to really come up with creative plays. And thank you, Joe. Thank you for my compliment of my polo shirt. All right, let's move on. Listen, Penny, again, this is another hire. If it happens, I think it's to attract free agents. Penny Hardaway is now the contender to take over the Orlando job. 65-32 as the Memphis head coach. He was an absolute legend in Orlando before injuries hurt him. They should do this right away. Orlando needs something, right?
They do need something. They need a lot, actually. But, the whole team needs a whole construction, a whole rebuild. But, the biggest thing for me as coming into a new coaching scene, coming into a new environment. You have to find a way to get the most out of the players. I feel like Charles Lee would have been a good option for me, but Penny Hardaway is also a good option as well too. He can come in. He has a winning mentality. It's something that would definitely benefit the Orlando players. And on top of that, they're not really in a state to win now. So he could put his imprint on the team. They could work into being a sort of playoff team in the kind of coming years. But as of right now, this is going to be a good hire for me if they find a way to get it done.
Randall, listen, Penny Hardaway, I live here in Florida. I have the NBA League Pass. I've watched Orlando games before COVID. They don't get any fans. Penny Hardaway was a fan favorite. We all remember Little Penny, that commercial he used to have. This is a no-brainer for me, right? They got to hire him, and he's had success again at Memphis, 65-32.
I'm not sure if this is the right time for Penny to come in because you're in the middle of a full rebuild. They push the detonation button, and they're going to have to take a long time to get good. And so you don't want to put Penny in that situation right away and then have people point to Penny and say, well, isn't Penny supposed to make the team good? Well, you got to give the man time, and you can't put him under that scrutiny right away. I say you hire the coach before the coach and bring him in once the team starts to get established and you get the guys that you want. And Mo Bamba or Jonathan Isaac or somebody, Cole Anthony, those guys start to show emergence as dominant players in the league. And then if you bring Penny Hardaway in, it's just going to catapult the whole team and ticket sales. And I think you have to wait on that and push the button later.
Okay, I'm not going to say I disagree with you. I'm going to adamantly say I disagree with you. And here's why. Penny Hardaway knows college players. Orlando's going to build through the draft. Every college kid, Penny Hardaway probably has recruited them. So they come to Orlando. Cole Anthony knows of him. Why let him? There's no media in Orlando. It's not like New York, Chicago. Let him grow on the job. Let him not have any pressure to win. And as a college basketball player, the biggest job of a college coach, especially if you're not at Duke or Kentucky, where it's one and done. When you're out of Memphis, which is a reputable school, it's development. Penny Hardaway would be great at developing players. Am I wrong, Randall?
You're not wrong. He would be good at developing players, but I'm not sure if the players that he would want are there at this moment. Maybe Cole Anthony or maybe RJ Hampton, but just besides those two, I'm not sure if it's a roster that he would be able to deal with. And Penny Hardaway
is. Wait, can I say that no matter who they hire, they're not going to win next year? We know that.
And that's what I'm getting at.
So why not let Penny learn to become a head coach in the NBA?
You could if you want to, but I would say it's not the right time.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, will Sam Cassell or Becky Hammon get a job? Edwin, I don't understand this. One of the reasons why Tom Thibodeau didn't get hired for years as an assistant, he's got the personality that you could fit inside this Gatorade cap. He has no personality, right? Sam Cassell, who knows basketball, who's won championships, has a great personality. How come Sam Cassell's not getting a job?
It's a tough question to answer. I really don't understand why he's not being looked at, seriously contended for. For me, when it comes to coaches, you want players to play for a player's coach, guys who are great with the locker rooms, great with, being in the huddle, great with galvanizing players. And, he is one of those coaches or potential coaches that can do that. I'm not really too sure about Becky Hammon, but I feel as though that she would be another great hire, whoever team decides to take the chance on her being the head coach. But for me, it's just another case of these two candidates not getting their looks, not getting the chance to succeed. And it might open up for them next season when it comes to, new coaching hires, but will it be too late? I'm not really too sure. But as far as this season goes, I don't understand why it's not, being seriously contended for.
Okay, Jared brings up a good point about Penny. Can't be any worse. Revenue upside, get people in the crowd, get them to. One of the things I loved about the Golden State Warriors is they built through the draft, and I'm not a Golden State Warrior fan, but we watched them. We watched them grow on the job. We watched Steph Curry, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson. We watched them lose to the Clippers and Doc Rivers in the playoffs and grow. And George, I don't agree with this at all. You do not take a Division I college player and send him to the G League in Penny Hardaway. So Andrea agrees with George. Like I said to Randall, I adamantly disagree. Okay, Randall, the NBA talks about equality. The NBA, Black Lives Matter, helping inner communities. But is it time for someone to put their money where their mouth is and hire Becky Hammon, or she's not getting hired?
I would actually prefer for Becky Hammon to go to Orlando. That's why I don't want Penny Hardaway there right away. And let Becky
That's
Hammon
fair.
get in there and put her Spurs spin on it. And they'll be able to, because the Popovich coaching tree has always been successful. You know, you got Budenholzer in Milwaukee. Obviously, his adjustments haven't been too great, but he has been proven to be a great head coach. And Becky Hammon has been able to step in for Popovich on occasion, and she's been able to control the locker room and win games. So I think putting her in Orlando and getting that system built, because you don't really have that fantastic franchise player that is just, without a doubt, you build around that.
That's a great point. That's a great point.
They have components of a team. And I think Becky Hammon would be able to build those components and enhance what those players can do, and they'll be able to put them together.
That's a great point about go somewhere where there's not a star and you could just build around the system with Becky Hammon. So yeah, I would like to see her there too as well. So definitely, you came back to you were fading. I hit you hard, but you came back with an uppercut, and I'll give you the decision on that one because you made a great point there. All right, Team USA announced their basketball team for the Tokyo Olympics. I'm going to go over the list real quick, and then you guys we could talk about two people you're taking off, two people you're adding on. They have Bradley Beal, Wizards, Devin Booker, Suns, Drew Holiday of the Bucks. They have Zach LaVine. I love Zach LaVine as a player. Damian Lillard, Kevin Durant, Jeremy Grant, Draymond Green, Kevin Love, Chris Middleton, Jason Tatum, and Bam Adebayo. Okay, we'll go with you, Edwin. What two guys are you taking off? What two guys are you putting on? And don't say Kevin Love because that's too easy.
Kevin Love is one of my choices, so I have to be
take
here.
him, take him.
Yeah. Kevin Love for me. I don't understand how he deserves to be on this team. I don't understand how he deserves a roster spot. Hasn't been really consistent in the past couple of years, and this year was no different as well. And I'm gonna throw a little curveball here and say I don't really think that it'll be a good scene or a good environment for Chris Middleton to be on the team right now, just because of the fit. How I see Team USA and how they might play. I feel like he's just overcrowding the spot at guard. He could play small forward. That could be an option. But for me, I don't think that he would possibly be a guy that's not really a good fit for Team USA. And obviously Kevin Love doesn't make the cut either. But two players I would add so far would be Malcolm Brogdon, because he's had a good season in Indiana. A really good.
By the way, we forgot about him in the whole Indiana conversation.
Yeah, we did. He's had a stellar season. He will be one of those players returning to. But I just think that because the Team USA has so many stacked players when it comes to scoring, he'll be a guy that could be able to run the offense a little bit more quietly on that side note, and then replace Kevin Love with Tobias Harris. Just a better standpoint from power forward. He's a guy who can come in and score. He'll be more consistent, more of a threat from the outside shot, and he does do a good job of grabbing boards too, I think. So Tobias Harris, Malcolm Brogdon, for me, those guys would be replacements for Chris Middleton and Kevin Love.
All right, Randall, same question. Before you answer that, it's kind of shocking to me that you look at this roster and we see the European big men really shining in the NBA, but there's not a lot of American dominant big men who are facing. Bam Adebayo is a little undersized center, has a decent 15, 20-footer, but when you compare him to the Joker or someone else like that, it's really amazing that growing up, you had Patrick Ewing, you had Hakeem Olajuwon, David Robinson, Shaq. There's no more American dominant big men.
I wouldn't consider Karl Anthony Towns to be the most dominant big man, but I think he is an effective big man.
Very, very true.
And he is able to stretch the floor. He's able to play the type of basketball that they want to play. And he also will be able to beat up on some of those foreign guys. I think it would have been fantastic for him and his development as a player to assert his dominance throughout, this tournament and throughout the different countries, and just go to Tokyo and go to town, no pun intended. And I think that would be really good for his confidence and to assert his dominance as a player. And because we all know that coaches, GMs have all believed in his ability and his talent to go very far in his career. So I would have loved to see him with this high talented group, but I guess Kevin Love has the spot,
Yeah, no, listen. You both mentioned Kevin Love. Breaking news: my boy. I feel like I want to cry. Trae Young is out for tonight's game. So it looks like the Hawks season. I wrote this like 3 months ago. I said, "Here come the Bucks." I'm going to say it right now. The Milwaukee Bucks, despite their coach lack of adjustments, are winning the NBA championship. That is my prediction. I had it 3 months ago. I changed it a couple times, but that is terrible news. And listen, people were talking about conspiracy theory. The ref didn't hurt him, but the ref should not even been in that position, because if you watch the film, he's literally right there. I don't know how he's not moving to get a better eye angle, but just terrible, terrible news if you're a Hawk fan like I am. But talking with Jalen Rose came out, and he said that Kevin Love is the token white guy. And Edwin, you brought it up. I went back and looked at his stats: 17-9, 17-9, 12-6. Randall, Kevin Love is not even a top 40 player anymore. Why is he on this team?
He has been a really good member of Team USA over the years, and I think he'll be a leader in the locker room. He'll be able to set the precedent for how players like Zach LaVine and Drew Holiday and other players that haven't been there before, like Bam Adebayo, he's going to show these guys what being a part of Team USA is all about, and how to take a step down, take away from your ego, and just be a part of a fantastic basketball team. And he knows all about it, and his mentality is there. And we all know he's been working on his mental health throughout all these years, and I think he'll be a great leader in that locker room.
So you don't have a problem with him being there?
I mean, obviously there's people that are preferred for him to be there, but they don't have the leadership and the IQ that Kevin Love does. So I see where it comes into play.
I don't really think Kevin Love is a good leader, actually. To be honest, I do agree with Randall that they need a leader in that locker room, only because it's a bunch of young guys, clipped up with a couple of veterans. But is Kevin Love really that leader that should be leading the squad? I'm not really too sure. I took a look back at his recent outbursts. I'm not sure if you guys remember the play against the Raptors where he slapped the ball out of bounds, and there's this whole commotion about that.
And almost walked off the court. Yeah,
almost walked off the court. So
let me stuff really quick
like that. Go ahead.
Kevin Love is dealing with a bunch of young players on that team. If Kevin Love is dealing with these veteran players, guys that know what they're expected of and know what they bring to the table, he's going to be able to lead those guys much better than these young players where the organization doesn't know where they're going. And so that's why he's frustrated there.
And I will say this,
he'll be able to show out.
And I will say this, Kevin Love donated $100,000 during COVID so everyone at the Quicken Loans Arena could still get paid. Kevin Love has been a model citizen. He's the last of the remaining pieces that won a championship. He says he loves Cleveland. He's been a leader outside the locker room in the city of Cleveland, donating, volunteering. So he has been a model. But I get I agree with both of you here, and I'm not trying to be wishy-washy host who doesn't take a side. I don't think Kevin Love should be on the team, and you don't either, Edwin, right?
No, definitely not.
Okay. All right. When we come back, we have a couple more NBA news to talk about, and we're also going to talk about the finals. We have breaking news that Trae Young is not playing tonight. You're watching the full Monte Sports Show live on YouTube. Make sure to give us a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to the Nuts and Bolts YouTube channel.
The Team Nuts and Bolts Sports Store is officially open. Log on to www.teamnbsmerch.com and get your t-shirts, hoodies, polos, all sizes available. Once again, log on to teamnbsmerch.com. Get yours today.
All right, this portion of the full Monty Sports Show is brought to you by East Coast Covers. Go to ECKNYC.com. The Smart Commuter cover was designed with 40 years of riding experience and delivers a high-quality, long-lasting American-made product with size and style to cover whatever two wheels you ride. It's also the first cover with an adjustable fit and attached backpack for quick and easy storage. I can't wait. They're shipping mine out tomorrow to cover my bike with the full Monte Show logo. I'm also proud to announce they just partnered up with the Bike Hub in Jersey City. But if you don't live in New York or New Jersey, no worries. You can order from anywhere. Again, East Coast Covers. Go to ECKNYC.com and check it out. All right, guys. So we talked about the Olympics. I want to just put a bow on this Kevin Love thing. Was Scottie Pippen also came out and said something. We talked about Jalen Rose talking about, it's a token white guy on the team. Scottie Pippen came out and said that Phil Jackson was probably a racist. Now, I don't know if anyone remembers. I don't know if they were old enough to remember, but I remember watching that game against the Knicks the year after Michael Jordan retired. The Knicks went on to win the series in 7, but in a crucial, I think, game 5, I don't even remember what it was, game 5 or 6, they call a timeout. Tony Kukoc, the rookie, takes a big shot, hits the game-winning 3. Scottie Pippen didn't even come out for the play. He came out and called Phil Jackson a racist. Edwin, start with you. Give us your thoughts on this.
So, Pippen's comments have been a little bit head-scratching the past couple of days. I will say that. But I do think that it's not really aligned when it comes to this comment or this, the notion about how he feels about Phil Jackson. Last Dance was a film basically trying to portray the likes of, Michael Jordan and his greatness, and also trying to give the aspects of how it wasn't all so pretty and everything. But I do think that there was deep lying information that we don't know that happened in the huddle, that happened in the locker rooms that they didn't show, and this is what, Scottie Pippen has been going through. So I do think that if he was there at that moment to see exactly how Phil Jackson was and how he acted out and what moves he probably made during that time period that made him think that they may have been race-based, then I don't really see the problem with him expressing his opinion about it per se. But I do think that it's more to uncover than it seems.
Well, Randall, I will say this. I don't know Phil Jackson. I know he's a terrible general manager. He ruined the Knicks for 3 years. Okay, so I know that. I also know that Phil Jackson is kind of a different cat. He's kind of a hippie. I know this about my hippie friends. They accept nature. They accept and love animals. They accept and love anyone. I would assume that Phil Jackson, being that type of person, doesn't see skin color. So my question is this. If you thought this guy was a racist, why did you stay with the Chicago Bulls for another 4 or 5 years? Why? If I work for a racist, I'm getting out as soon as possible. Randall, your thoughts on this?
Exactly. We saw that with Donald Sterling. All the players did not want that man to be their owner anymore, and they acted out as soon as that information came out. And, Scottie Pippen, I don't even want to speak on this topic, to be perfectly honest with you. I just have a message for Scottie Pippen. My man, please, this is my guy, 100%. I ride for Scottie Pippen. What he represents as a number 2 player and, as still being a top 50 player of all time, one of the greatest defenders, one of the greatest scorers, one of the greatest playmakers. He's just been an all-around player. And stop talking out of the side of your neck, Scotty. Please.
I'll say this. I'll say this too. Scottie Pippen as a player was a poor man's LeBron James. He wasn't as great as a scorer or a rebounder, but he could defend 4 positions. He can run the point. Scottie Pippen was so good, and he was right. When Jordan retired, people don't realize this, and I wrote an article on it. When Jordan retired and they won the championship after his 3rd title, the Bulls won 57 games. When Jordan retired with Scottie Pippen running the team, they won 55 games. So when LeBron leaves, it's over, right? Every team goes into shambles. Scottie Pippen, they didn't miss a beat. They lost to the Knicks in Game 7 on a Bull Hubert Davis 3-point foul call. Hugh Hollins, I think, made the call. But Scottie Pippen was phenomenal. But why are you staying with a coach who basically you say is a racist? Because Dan Patrick gave him a way out. He says, Scottie, are you calling – by you saying this, you're saying that Phil Jackson is a racist. And Scottie Pippen responded by saying, I have no problem with that.
It's tough. It really is tough
terrible.
to think about that. It is terrible. It is terrible the way the way he answered it is kind of terrible. But to answer your question about why he's staying, I think it's a bit complicated than him about leaving, because there could be a lot of financial decisions that he may or may not have to face, So that was a crucial problem at that time period. Maybe not as now because,
Well, yeah, it wasn't like today where you could free agent and walk away and demand trade. I think one of the things that LeBron James brought to this, and Shaquille O'Neal did too, is that players now have control of where they go. Where back in the day, you didn't have that. That's why no one ever left the Celtics with Larry Bird. No one left with Magic Johnson. No one left with the Detroit Pistons. It was a huge deal when the Pistons acquired Mark Aguirre. Remember that? Mark Aguirre for Adrian Dantley. That was a huge deal. Like, oh my goodness, you're making a trade during the season. There was a lot more to this, but this is not the end of this story. It's the end of our segment for this, but it's not the end of the story. Okay, before we get to what appears to be the NBA Finals now and the West and the East with Trae Young being out, guys, I grew up and I loved the Texas teams, right? NBA teams used to call this the Bermuda Triangle. You're not getting out alive. And if you are, best case scenario, you're going 1-2. Guys, what has happened to the Houston Rockets, the San Antonio Spurs, and the Dallas Mavericks are in flux? We don't know if Porzingis is going to demand a trade. We don't know if Luka's going to sign a deal and then leave. But Dallas, Houston, and San Antonio, they were elite franchises. So I'm going to ask you, Edmund, we'll start with you. If you're buying, selling, and kicking one out of the league, who are you buying? Houston, San Antonio? Who are you kicking out of the league? Is it Dallas? Because these three franchises who were once elite and always won 50 games are terrible now.
So I will say this. I'm going to still buy the Mavs. As right now, they are the best team so far. And even though they did make a questionable coaching hire, I still do believe that they have enough talent to be a relevant squad, to be a playoff squad. I would sell the Spurs only because of they're trying so hard to stay relevant in the West. Under Greg Popovich, not really working out too well. I'm not sure what's going to happen with DeMar DeRozan and whether or not he's going to come back or not. But he's most likely going to leave. And, obviously, we're just going to kick out the Houston Rockets because they have been a total mess. And it hasn't always been like that. James Harden has been running that team for a while now, but it's proven that at least right now, they're nothing without him. And, they were the worst franchise today, a couple of months ago in the NBA, not winning at least one game. So for me, they're a whole entire mess. I think that when it comes to road matchups against them, teams don't have a fear in their hearts anymore because instead of going 1-2, possibly 0-3, you can go 3-0 and have a successful road trip. So the Texas road trip is dead and not alive anymore.
Yeah, it's like a vacation. And Randall, he brings up a good point. He's going to buy the Dallas Mavericks, but we all agree maybe first round. I mean, we were talking about teams, the Spurs, 5 titles. Houston had 2. Even under James Harden, they were winning 50 games. San Antonio was relevant for a while. But this team now, we're talking about one team making the playoffs in Texas?
Yeah, it's really crazy how much this has been ebbing and flowing over the past few years. And with Popovich holding in and trying to stay relevant, as Edward said, it's been over 20 years, pushing 25 years. And it's just hard to stay sustainable throughout all that time and to keep making the right picks, keep making the right trades. But I have faith in that organization, and I think they'll be able to make the right moves, but they're not going to be able to attract free agents. And so I think they'll be able to rebuild through the draft and be able to build around DeJounte Murray, Derek White, and all those guys that will be able to contribute long-term. And I think they have a good guard core. And if they start to build around them, I think they'll be able to get good within the next 5 years and be a contender again. But yeah, obviously Houston, we all agree that we could kick them out, move them to Seattle for all we care, because we don't need the triangle down there. We need a better team in Seattle. We'll have a good fan base out there. But in Houston, we all know that they're kind of in flux with Christian Wood, who's a really good player, but not going to be a really good player on this team. Are they going to move him to a contender, to somewhere where he could be more of a key piece? And then Kevin Porter Jr. is the second coming of James Harden, as far as we're all concerned. He's going to the strip clubs in the evening and being able to put up 50 during the day. And if they're going to be able to build around him, I think they can do that very well. And with what they learned from just going strictly off analytics in Houston, I think they'll be able to do more of an eye test and be able to get better talent in there and not just key guys that are putting up the right stats.
You bring up a great point. Look, I'm all for analytics if you win a title. Okay, Houston didn't even get there. So I say this all the time. My first year coaching college basketball, I was an assistant. I got hired in October. The season started in November. We were 12-12. I took over the weight program. I recruited some studs. I went into the head coach's office at the end of the year, and I said, we are going – it's a bad analogy, but I said, we're going to war without any guns. We don't have players. I recruited players. We worked out. We finished 20-10. My other job, 21-8, 26-4. I was not that much better of a coach my second year to my fourth year. But – we got players. So analytics could be great, but if you don't have players, and this is what's happening to Greg Popovich. Greg Popovich believes in his system, but Greg, you're not getting the players. So something's not right there, dude. That Tim Duncan's not walking through the door. Tony Parker's not there. Manu Ginobili's not there. Greg Popovich is one of the greatest coaches of all time, but he's not evolving. And that's why San Antonio continues to struggle, because free agents don't want to play for him. Everyone loves him on the Olympic team, but no one wants to go there. Okay, we're talking with the Nuts and Bolts Sports crew here on the Full Monty Sports Show. Let's get to the Western Conference Finals. First of all, I just got to say this. All the props in the world to Pandemic P, because Paul George came out in the second half, and he kicked ass. He kicked ass. The one thing that I didn't ever see watching Phoenix almost every game, Phoenix got out-coached. They got outplayed. They looked nervous. The Clippers went in there and smacked them in the mouth last night. And I will say this, two statements. One, we'll start with this. Edwin, the Clippers and Paul George are better without Kawhi Leonard, and here's why. They have very long defenders. Marquise Morris is a defender. Forget about DeMarcus Cousins. He's not. Reggie Jackson is an underrated defender. You have Patrick Beverly, who's annoying, but he's a good defender. So Kawhi Leonard and Paul George has not much that difference of a defender. But Paul George is a volume shooter. So if Paul George goes 2 for 10 in the first half, 3 for 14 in the first half, and Kawhi Leonard's on the floor, he's going to give Kawhi the ball. He's not going to shoot. Paul George now knows this is my show. I don't care if I miss 15 times. I'm shooting the next one. So can I make the argument that the Clippers are better off if you want Paul George to succeed without Kawhi Leonard?
You can. And actually, I've been thinking about this since Kawhi has went down. You go back to the series against Utah and how well they played without him. It was just a shocker. People were expecting the Clippers to lose in 6 to the Jazz. As soon as he went down, that was definitely not the case. And now we look at this series here. The Suns, obviously, they have the hype coming into the series. They won the first 2 games. The Clippers have found a way to battle back. And, whenever Paul George plays efficiently, they do have a great chance of winning. So they play as a unit. They get more touches. And I do agree with you on the point that when Paul George struggles, and he's struggling, and then he has to give the ball to Kawhi in the fourth quarter, at least sometimes, most of the time, that's when we make these cases of playoff P is no longer here. Pandemic P has returned, things of that nature. And, granted, there's still been times where he has let the team down. You want to talk about the missed free throws in multiple games. I get that. But overall, he has been playing well, too. Reggie Jackson has been playing well. He didn't get these kind of touches when Kawhi Leonard was on the court. And obviously, you have Marcus Morris, too, getting the kind of touches that he needs to contribute to the offense. And I will say this. The biggest X factor for me, at least the past 2 victories for the Clippers, has been DeMarcus Cousins. The way he is able to dominate in just a short period amount of time, coming on the floor, produce, giving them much more than what Zubac has been giving them in the past, obviously. So for me, he's been the difference. And the Suns, if they don't win Game 6, I really don't see how it's going to be a cakewalk in Game 7 for them.
Well, let me just take a moment here because we're ignoring our Drinkle Bingo card. We've said at the end of the day, I've said LeBron James. So please take a shot. It's happy hour somewhere. Thank you, LC, for reminding us of the bingo drinking game. Okay, so I'm a little confused because sometimes I look at Tyronn Lue Randall and I think he's Russell Crowe of A Beautiful Mind. He won't play DeMarcus Cousins. He won't play Rondo. He won't play Patrick Beverly. Nicholas Batum was averaging like 11 and 8. He sits. He takes him out of the starting lineup. But whatever he does seems to be working.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was listening to the Bill Simmons podcast with Ryan Russillo, and they were talking about players that they should be apologizing to in this year's playoffs. And the first 4 or 5 players were all Clippers players. You know, you got Nick Batum, Reggie Jackson, Marcus Morris, DeMarcus Cousins. All these guys are very situational players. Like, we put Marcus Morris into the first half, and you give us 18, and I predicted that he wouldn't put up more than 5 in the next half. He put up 4 in the second half. You know, you only need him to give you guys that 22 points, and then you just need him to be a body out there to keep the defense honest. And Tyronn Lue has been making those adjustments and putting those guys in at the right time. We have to give him all the credit. I saw him last night during the second quarter when they were about to run an inbound play, and players are in the incorrect spots, and he's letting them know right away. He's making sure that these guys are in the right spot and not squandering this opportunity, because he's been down like this before, and it's going to take a lot to get back up against this team.
Listen, the Clippers are making history. They're the first team to be down 0-2, 0-2, 0-2, and they keep winning. The problem I have, and I've had this I never said I believed in the Suns. And here's why. I think they're a year away. They may get to the NBA championship. But and let me know if you guys agree with this. It's going to be harsh, but this is a young team. Forget about the coach, who put all their faith in Chris Paul. DeAndre Ayton said that Chris Paul is the best thing that ever happened to his career. We've seen Chris Paul do this with Blake Griffin, with DeAndre Jordan. We've seen Chris Paul do this with the OKC Thunder. And guys who he just elevates their game. But the Phoenix Suns put their faith in one veteran who's never had playoff experience, winning. And here's what's so disturbing. After 3-1, they go and they interview Chris Paul. And the announcer says, you're up 3-1. And Chris Paul goes, I don't want to talk about 3-1. What? Like, you're already projecting doom and failure. And Kevin Durant, LeBron James, they would all say, we feel confident right now. We're in a good position. I love Chris Paul during the regular season. I think him missing because of COVID has had an effect on him, because he's not the great shooter he was during this series. But, Randall, I got to be honest with you. If you're putting your faith in Chris Paul to come up big and carry this team, who he's never won in 10 years postseason experience, that is very concerning for me.
I think he's won against better teams in the postseason than the team he's playing right now. Maybe he's not on a better team than those Lob City Clippers as of right now, but I think they're well constructed to go against this Clipper team, and Chris Paul can take them over the top. I predicted the Clippers were going to win last night because they play fantastic with their backs against the wall. We all know this. And they're riding with dogs. We've called this out before. We all know that they've been riding with dogs since Paul George and Kawhi signed there. They have Patrick Beverly. Now they have DeMarcus Cousins, Marcus Morris. And all these guys are going to get in your face, and they're going to make you feel uncomfortable and get physical with you. The Suns were not able to respond to that physicality right off the beginning. DeAndre Ayton was not boxing out. Even with smaller guys on him, he wasn't getting him in the position to get those rebounds early. He should have had
a 30-15 night last night because they went so small.
Exactly. They had 2 people boxing him out, and he's not even trying to push them out of the way. The only time he tried to push them somebody out of the way was when he tried to post up Marcus Morris, and he butt checks him off the floor. Yeah. And everybody can see that. Everybody knows it's going to happen. He has to do that when it's going to be a big mix-up in the middle. You know, he's got to pick his spots. And obviously he doesn't know that as a very young center, but he'll be able to learn that. And Chris Paul will be able to tell him, hey, you can pull on a jersey at this time, or you can get an arm around at this time. And using those little tactics will be able to increase his physicality and his confidence in his game. And I think Chris Paul, as a leader and as a person that has won important series, I think he's going to be able to put these guys over the top. And I think they're going to win the NBA Finals.
Edwin, oh, really? Really?
I
Okay,
do.
Edwin, I said to my friend Andrea last night during the day or before the game, I said, I would not be surprised if Phoenix loses because I think the moment's going to be too big for them at home. But then I said after that, but they should win Game 6 because there'll be no pressure on them. If it's a Game 7, Phoenix is going to be so nervous because they've never been there. It's one thing to dream about going to the NBA Finals. It's another thing to play in front of 19,000 screaming fans and you get punched in the mouth early. They tried and tried and tried, and again, all the credit in the world to the Clippers. But I think Phoenix still wins Game 6.
I think so too. Actually, I do think that it'll be a moment for Devin Booker to come out once again, similar to what he did in Game 1. And may not be the triple-double that he had before, because I think that has been a key to the series as to why the Suns' offense hasn't been really direct as it has been in the past. Devin Booker has had at least 4 turnovers in the past couple of games. So, for me, I'm looking for him to come out and just, do and replicate what he did in Game 6 against Lakers, right? Just show off, come in with the mentality to win. And, I expect Chris to have the same kind of mentality. I'm not really too sure on whether or not they can get the job done, only because Clippers have so much momentum going forward right now. They have the mindset that they can come in and win Game 6 and then push it to a Game 7. I did expect them to win last game as well.
But the Clippers have played better on the road in this postseason.
They have, and credit to them for doing that. They also have had a good chance of playing good at home when they were down 2-0 as well too. So I look at those two options. I see, well, the team has a lot of confidence. They have what it takes to do it. They did it against Game 6 against the Jazz, my team who I was rooting for. And so they can kind of replicate that again here. I'm not really too sure if they will be able to get the job done, but I'm expecting the Suns to come in and finish the job, if I'm being honest.
Okay, so we all agree the Suns go. Now let's move to the East. One of the biggest concerns people have was Chris Middleton. Chris Middleton needs to be the second best player on the floor for 7 games. And what we're realizing is, no, he doesn't. Chris Middleton just needs to be the second best player on the floor in 4 games. And he's doing that because you only need to win 4 games. Chris Middleton will score 15 and grab 7. You don't even know he's out there. Then he'll drop 35 and 18 like a man possessed. And I look at this Milwaukee team. Every team remaining has flaws. The Atlanta Hawks have no post-up players. Giannis down the stretch in a close game. It's not as bad as Ben Simmons, but it's pretty ugly. But I look at this Milwaukee Buck team, other than Brook Lopez, who's the softest player in the history of the NBA. They're the most complete team. Am I wrong, Randall?
You're not wrong. You are not wrong. They are fantastic on the defensive end, and they will bring it to you on offense. They force you to stay honest defensively. They force you to build that wall, and then their shooters are going to be able to knock down some shots. And especially when you put PJ Tucker on someone like Danilo Gallinari, who provides them with that bench scoring and very consistent scoring. If you take that away, they're going to have to – those young guys are going to have to bring it all on their own. And, keep PJ honest, keep him on Gallinari, and then the rest of the guys, they're not going to be able to get that offense going. And if you stay with Giannis at the 5 and then switch 1 through 4, those guys are going to have a lot of trouble. They're not going to be able to have fluidity with the basketball. They're not going to be able to create their own shots, and they're not going to be able to establish a paint presence either. And I think with Giannis being able to defend the pick and roll and Trey not willing to even go at Giannis is really big, and that's what caused him to get, 8 or 9 turnovers in that game?
Yeah.
So I was calling for the Hawks to start turning the ball over a long time ago, and they haven't started it till now. So I think they might be able to get out of this funk because they've been doing so well, but we all know they've been overachieving up until this point. So I see the light at the end of the tunnel for the Bucks to go to the finals.
One of the things, Edwin, that really disturbed me is Mike Budenholzer almost literally coached his team out of the Nets series. One of the things, he didn't play Bobby Portis, who we see now is a rebounding guy, a physical guy. They wore down the Brooklyn Nets. They're wearing down the Atlanta Hawks. but there's something I want people to watch for, and I don't know if Nate McMillan's going to do this without Trae Young, but if I'm him, I give Cam Reddish, the small forward 2 guard out of Duke, who just got off the injured list last game, some playing time. Cam Reddish could definitely score. He's long. He's athletic. Is there any way without Trae Young they pull off the upset tonight?
Definitely not. Definitely not. I'm sorry, Hawks fans. It's kind of over, and you have reason to believe only because you've gotten this far. You're playing with the best of them as of right now. But for me, Cam Reddish, you just mentioned him. He's going to be a scratch as well, too. Like, how healthy is he to come back in the crucial game 6? Oh, sorry, game 5 for that matter. Come in and actually produce in the court, give them much needed minutes, and sort of help the other teammates replace the much needed minutes that Trae Young has been given throughout the whole series, the whole entire playoffs, the fearless young leader that they have as of right now. So for me, the Hawks have no chance tonight. I expect the Bucks to dominate them inside. And
breaking my heart. You're breaking my heart.
I'm not. It's what's going to happen, seriously. And the Bucks have done a fantastic job, in my opinion, at defending the 3-point line, the main strength for the Atlanta Hawks. And once you do that, once you already win the rebounding rebounding battle, then it's pretty much over for the team as it is.
Yeah, well, what shocked me is the first 2 games. I was like, man, the Bucks' strength, and this is what I wrote a couple months ago with PJ Tucker and Drew Holiday, and their length is they're so physical. They weren't being physical with Atlanta. That all changed in game 2. I thought if Trae Young didn't get hurt, Atlanta would have won that game because they were up, they were controlling the tempo. But without him now, it's just going to be all hands on deck. And if Atlanta loses, they're out in 5. Okay, guys, my final question. If Chris Paul loses another 3-1 series, Edwin, will start with you. Does anyone buy into what he's selling next year in Phoenix, or you get him out of there?
I don't think you buy what he's selling, to be honest. I think that, he would be worth another year in Phoenix, if I'm being honest. Definitely what they've done and what they've accomplished this season, just showing you that they have the pieces in order to make an NBA championship finals. But it would be a massive blow to his resume as a player, as a point guard, if he doesn't find a way to at least get to the finals this year. It's going to be also a big blow to him as in being one of the greatest point guards of all time. Chris Paul, for me, has been that kind of guy, top 5 in assists.
Stockton got there twice, right? So, yeah. You got to get there.
You have to get there. And, he has been proven to be a good late game scorer, in my opinion. But the knock on him has always been, can he win a ring? Can he at least get to the finals? And he hasn't been able to do that because of injuries, because of him shying away from the late game pressure. So Chris Paul, he has to find a way to get this series over with. Like, he has to find a way to get a job done.
Randall, I'm going to end with this. If I'm a betting man and I get 2-1 odds, I'm telling you right now, if Phoenix wins, Kawhi Leonard will end up in Phoenix next year. They're breaking up the Clippers. If the Clippers lose, they're breaking them up.
That's very true.
Kawhi Leonard ends up in Phoenix.
That's true, yes.
I could agree with that. You replace him with Cam Johnson. I think that would be a fantastic upgrade. And do I think that's going to happen? I don't know. We never know with Kawhi Leonard.
But we know that if the Clippers lose, they're breaking up the team.
Correct.
So where's the best? Kawhi Leonard doesn't want to go to a place where he has to rebuild. Kawhi Leonard doesn't want to have to go to a place where he's the face of the franchise because he doesn't like to talk. Right now, you have Chris Paul, Devin Booker, and can you imagine Chris Paul, Devin Booker, Kawhi Leonard, and DeAndre Ayton at that's your starting 4 out of 5?
That would be fantastic. I wouldn't doubt it that he would go there, but I wouldn't. I didn't even look at the rest of the league to see where Kawhi would go, and I think there might be even better options out there.
Really?
Yes.
Well, what better options?
Miami.
So I would even look at maybe even Dallas with somebody like Luka running the point, and then he can just wait and then defend the best player on the other end, save Luka defensively, and then he'll be able to run the offense, and Kawhi can get a bucket whenever he needs to. And I think they'll be able to just share the basketball very well. And then I think they could even beat the Phoenix in a 7-game series if, you put Kawhi on one team versus the other.
If I'm Dallas, one thing I definitely try to do is I go after like a Dennis Schroeder because there's going to be some points during the game, especially in playoffs, where you need someone else to bring the ball up and Luka still be on the floor. Because Luka brings the ball up, they pressure him. He's exhausted in the fourth quarter. You got to get someone where Luka could play the two guard once in a blue moon.
Yes, definitely
All
agree
right,
with that.
guys, loved having you on. This has been so much fun. Edwin, how can we follow you and support you?
So you guys can follow me on Twitter at TheRealEddie03. My handle is right there exactly. Have more content coming out from Nuts and Bolts Sports, writing articles. Please find a way to get some time and read them. Read all the writers that we have here. Continue to subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. And thank you once again for having me.
Edwin, I'm going to say this right now. That championship belt that we're looking at, we should probably send it to you because you're the only one from Nuts and Bolts Sports since I've been doing this on Tuesday who's been on every show. So
I have, yeah.
that championship belt is definitely yours, and we're going to give you a big round of applause because you've been on every week. God bless you for putting up with my annoying personality.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
All right, we'll see you next week. Thanks so much. Randall, you came out swinging, bro. We missed you. It's been a while. Fans really love, your commentary. I'm getting texts. Why hasn't he been on more often?
I was at school. I had class at the same time. I would get off at 7 p.m. or 7:30 p.m. my time, and it would leave me with a half hour left in the show. So I always showed up and showed support, made my comments, and gave my takes through the chat box. So I was always doing my best to support and still trying to get my degree.
All right, and we follow you right there at Randall, 2 L's Gimm, correct?
That is correct, Randall Gim, and you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram. And I'm coming out with a new article this week on Timberwolves off-season moves. Big developments coming in as there are reports that the Timberwolves want Ben Simmons badly.
Wow.
I'm not sure how I feel about it. We'll see how I feel about it, but when the article comes out by the end of the week.
By the way, love what you did with the setup, the Pippen jersey, the championship belt. Great job. Please put that on my page and tag me in that article.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me on tonight, Monty.
Love having you on. Take care. All right, I want to thank all the guests for coming on. I want to thank you for joining the Full Monty Sports Show. Remember, tell one friend, tell one family member, tell a coworker, subscribe to the Nuts and Bolts YouTube channel, and in the immortal words of Llewellyn Moss, I shall return. Carla Jean.